from from Los Cabos in Mexico. Hope you're having a super fantastic sparkling day. Welcome to Porchlight Letters podcast number 2459, The Wedding. Yay! You can't really see it, but I'm actually wearing my wedding dress from almost 28 years ago. And it was 28 years ago today, April 25th, 1998, when Brad proposed to me. So that was the 28th anniversary of that. Go back to 1945, on this day in 1945, and Brad's parents got married on this day. He did not know that when he proposed to me. So just to let you know that. And also it is Anzac Day, which is the Australian New Zealand Army Corps, where it's kind of like a Memorial Day, equivalent to an American Memorial Day, where we honor those who have fought in the wars and who have now passed. Anzac Day is on this day in 1915 when the Anzacs invaded Gallipoli. So if you've ever seen the movie Gallipoli, that's the whole story behind that. Although, of course, it's been Hollywoodized. Yeah, Hollywoodized. Not sure if it's a word, but it is now. But we had a fabulous day. The wedding wasn't until 4:30, but I woke up at 7:30 this morning, had an amazing night's sleep, and I've been having trouble sleeping the last 2 weeks. So this was my first decent sleep. I did get up a couple of times in the middle of the night, but that was okay. I went straight back to sleep. I woke up at 7:30 this morning. Haven't woken up that late since I don't know when. Usually I wake up around 6, and that's my sleeping because I usually get up around 5. And then I lazed in bed till like 9 o'clock and finally got up and showered and dressed, and then went off to find food and went back to the deli because I had some good sandwiches there, and got my sandwich, got my breakfast and had that. And then just went for a wander around the resort. I thought, I've got to go see where this wedding is so I can find it later on. Bumped into the groom, and we had a quick chat and walked along with each other. And he said to me, the bridal party's going to line up this side, you guys line up that side and come in that way. I was like, okay, cool. Now I know where I'm going. And walked around the resort, and then got showered and dressed around 3:30ish. Wedding didn't start till 4:30, but I didn't want to be late, and so I was actually the first guest there. And you know what was really cool? They had newspapers for us, so everybody got given one of these when they came in, the Wedding Times, and this is one of their pictures from their engagement pictures. Gorgeous, gorgeous picture. And then inside, it had their story over here. This story, a note from the newlyweds, and then they had the bridal party here, their wedding timeline down here, and then on the back they had a map of where everybody came from, which is pretty cool. And we got New Zealand there. Then they had guest awards, and I was the one that the longest distance travelled was me from New Zealand. Yes. And then first RSVP was the mother of the groom, and the matchmaker, the person who introduced them to each other. And then they have a word search thing for wedding stuff. And then the part that always tears me up on any wedding program is the immemorial thing. And there's my husband's name right at the bottom there. His dad's name at the top, then his grandparents, his grandmother, and then my husband. So that always brought tears to my eye. And they're just gorgeous. And so we finally all got seated and everything. I was sitting on the aisle, and very short aisle, but a very large step. Gorgeous, gorgeous venue. They had this platform set up. They only had 2 steps going up. Then you had this, the 2 steps were about this height, and then they had this massive step, like about this height, to get up onto the actual platform. Parker's older sister, Sabrina, was this wedding celebrant, and she did a fabulous job with that. Very, very short ceremony. And then, of course, they walked out. We followed them. We went up to the where they had a cocktail party. At the cocktail party, they had these shelves set up with these little bottles of tequila. You can see mine's still full. Haven't touched it. But on them was our name with our table number at the bottom. Hang on, I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, how was it? Table number 2. So everybody had their name on it and then their table number as well. So I got to sit with some cousins of Parker's. And of course, then we got to our place, and our placemats had our name on it. And then this was the menu that we had. I had the salmon, the grilled salmon with herb sauce. Very, very great food. Good food, great food. And then the dessert was tiramisu. Then later on we had wedding cake. And then later on they had a churro stand set up, and you could go along and get the little bucket with the churros in it, and you could put any of the sauces. Of course, they had chocolate. I made sure it was chocolate because I couldn't see very well in the dark. A lot of energetic dancing. They had a in memory of table set up, and it had a picture of his dad, my husband, their grandparents on their wedding day, and his mother's mum, so his grandmother. And everyone was fascinated with the photo of the older couple. And of course, they had fun fact that they share the same wedding anniversary at the same wedding day as Grandma Ginny and Bob Senior. And that was really cool to see that there. And of course, Christina and I had gone over to have a look at this thing. Like, I went over there to have a look at that thing. I'm starting to get choked up. She comes over, she starts getting choked up. And she told me that the picture with Bob and it was taken on their wedding day. And I said, well, maybe I should have sent him one on our wedding day. But then I thought, no, I like the one that was in there. It was taken on a cruise ship, and he just looked really good in this photo. Totally missed him. So it was 28 years ago today that Brad proposed. This necklace here, this is the actual stone that was in my engagement ring. Brad always wanted to replace it because he said it was too dark. And on our 10th wedding anniversary, I said, okay, for our 10th wedding anniversary, you can replace the sapphire as long as the original sapphire goes into a heart surrounded by diamonds. So this is what the jeweler came up with for the design. And you can't really tell in this light, but this sapphire here is a lot lighter. Actually, you probably can tell because it's a lot lighter than this one. This one's almost black, and this one's got some blue in it. So that was my 10-year anniversary present. So I wore that today, wore the wedding dress specifically because it was the 20th anniversary of our proposal. And so if you're looking on Facebook and you see this big yes, the answer will always be yes. That's what it's referring to. I used to call Brad on April 25th and just leave him a voicemail that said yes and hang up. Took him a couple of years to cotton on because he'd come and go, why did you call me and leave me a voicemail that said yes? I said, well, what's today? And he goes, April 25th. I said, what's special about today? He's like, I don't know. I said, you don't recall anything that might have happened in Old Town Alexander on this night, on this day? And he'll think for a little bit and he goes, was that the day I proposed to you? I go, yes, it was. That's why I'm saying yes. Just to let you know, the answer is yes, and it will always be yes. So, yeah, the 25th of April, I've always put that on his Facebook page. I think I've done it every year. I don't think I've skipped one, except when I could call him and leave it on his voicemail. But it was a beautiful wedding. The bride looked absolutely stunning. The groom was in a white suit with a white bow tie. He looked amazing. I'm just so proud of these couple. They've been going out for a while, and they've finally tied the knot, and just so proud of them. And Brad always had a special place in his heart for Parker. And his last words for Parker was to keep following your dreams. And Parker says, yep, and I'm still doing that. And I said, excellent. He'd be very proud of you for that. And I said, your dad would be proud of you for the type of girl that you're found and are settling down with. And your grandmothers would be proud too. So I said, you got a lot of people who are in the afterlife that are there for you and are very proud of you and what you've done. So that's been my day. I'm now back in the room. I am hot. It was sweltering out there. It was like 80-something degrees Fahrenheit with a high humidity. And the whole event finished. They played the last song, and then they had the bridal couple and the bridal party head down to the swimming pool and jump in. And that's how they ended their wedding today, their wedding night. Their wedding was going down. And the bride at some point went and changed from her full-length bridal gown into something much cooler, white sneakers for dancing in, and a white sparkly mini dress, which was absolutely stunning on her. And then she had her hair tied up in a ponytail instead of how it was for the wedding. And she was ready to dance, and everybody was up and dancing. It was great. Had some great conversations with people, met some people I haven't seen for a while. But right now, I just want to go strip off and have a shower. My nephew says to me when I went to give him one of my nephews said to me when I went to give him a hug, he's like, no, he says, I'm really hot and sweaty. I go, so am I. And hugged him anyway. So, but with that, I am out of here. I am going to go and have a shower and crawl into bed. Oh, and I allowed them to do the night thing. And there's a breakfast menu sitting on my thing if I want to order room service. And there's chocolates on my bed too. Yes, I got chocolates. Got good night chocolates on my pillow over there. So I don't know if you can see it from here, but it's kind of, sort of. It's over there. That big brown thing on my bed. Yeah. So anyway, I'm out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and I'll catch you guys here tomorrow evening. Tomorrow at sometime. It's just sometime right now until I get home, because I don't know when I'm going to be able to get online as a sometime.